Jesus is a rebel, and he's a spiritual rebel, and he wants to free you from the sin that you are in. So let Jesus in. Let him free you from your spiritual bondage.
Welcome to Worship in Waves, where the bad guys aren't really that bad. They're just misunderstood. And that evil isn't really all that bad. Or is it? I'm Josh Sars, and I'm with my friends, Yiking and Rory.
Hey,
And today we're going to talk about a scandal, a juicy scandal. A scandal that's been going on for so long that we've grown so accustomed to it that we may have been brainwashed to believe that like the bad guys aren't really all that bad and that evil may not really be evil, and maybe evil is something that's even like subjective, or god forbid evil is something that we can call necessary. Media is trying to show us, subtly trying to show us, that there are two sides of a coin, two sides of the story, and that evil may not really be evil. It's only considered evil because of who is telling the story. Now, there are some or a lot of TV shows and movies out now that are telling the story in the shoes or in the perspectives of the bad guy. So it's trying to show us their side of the story, and it's making us kind of root for them. What do you think about? Have you noticed movies and TV shows like that?
well, I have. It's really interesting because I think those TVs and movie shows really try to target everyone and the frailty and vulnerability of a person, because everyone is quote unquote evil in the eyes of God. There's not a single person who is perfectly quote unquote holy. So when a TV show shows the perspective of the quote unquote bad guy, and they do it tastefully and well, then it makes us relate to them. And their story becomes something not of quote unquote um like definite evil or like ultimate evil, but story of a regular person going through something that they would not want to have done if given a different set of circumstances.
Actually, I agree with that. I mean, usually in media that we watch today, like movies and whatever series that I've been seeing, they start to rationalize these bad people. They start to give
Yeah,
them likable personalities. They start to give them these things that you can relate to, things that you can say that easily could be me, or I easily could do the same things this person is doing. And that I find that kind of difficult because when people show something like goody goody, someone doing the right thing, it gets boring for some people. For
Y-
them it looks like, for us, I mean, really, it
yeah,
does get boring.
yeah.
Because we see all of these people doing, when you see this guy who's going through life, there's some glimmers of goodness in him, but he's overall bad or something like that. A lot of people can relate to something like that. So I really think the media really tries to play on points like that, making him relatable, making him likable, despite his huge flaws or his evil character or whatever personality. And I think that's something that's a trend that's been going around right now in the media and in TV shows and in movies in general. So that's my
Yeah, it really is a trend. Now I'm gonna show you some clips here, some examples that are kind of close to my heart.
Chemistry. It is the study of change. It is growth, then decay, then transformation.
Yes. Lung cancer. Inoperable.
If you and I could partner up, you know the business, and I know the chemistry.
Yeah, let's not finish
Oh,
that.
okay.
But have you
No wonder
seen
it
that?
looked familiar.
I haven't seen that
I
yet.
haven't seen it either, but like
Even following
a
the
lot of friends
recommendation.
of mine have seen it.
Yeah,
So I was really
it was
curious.
really big, and I can say it's my number one TV show favorite of all time.
Wow.
And it's the story of a high school teacher who has cancer, and he looks for a way to get money for his treatment and for money to leave his family. So he discovers something like that. So it shows us the perspective of Walter White, and it makes us root for him with all the bad things that he will do in the later seasons. But he will redeem himself in the end. But then it's making that aspect of that kind of crime, that kind of situation, a little less menacing for us. Here's another. Here's another one that is also my favorite.
この後に名前を書かれた人
Oh gosh.
間死
Have you seen this
書
already?
かなければ死因は全て心臓麻痺になる
So I'm sure you guys have heard of that. Maybe you've seen it.
Rory has read the manga. He
I,
says.
I've read the manga and I've watched the anime, but I didn't dare watch the American version of the movies.
Why not?
But
English now.
it's definitely my favorite anime of all time, and that's a little more extreme than Breaking Bad. It's about this smart guy. He starts out good. He discovers a notebook that can kill anyone if you write their names on it. So he goes on this killing spree, killing criminals, and then later he kills not just the criminals, he kills a lot of people. He becomes the god of the new world, and then someone has to stop him. So it gives us the perspective of the guy who is doing the killing, and it makes us root for him a little bit. Some part in the series you kind of root for the other guy, and then you root for him again. So it's crazy. Or there are a lot of examples here, but we can't go through all of them. I'm just gonna name for Iking. Remember the Frozen franchise?
Yes,
Oh, no.
I
Yeah.
do.
I know who this is.
I know where we're going, and I love this.
Yeah. What was your theory with
So
Frozen
my
again?
theory is the real hero of Frozen is Hans, because if Hans never backstabbed Anna, Elsa and Anna wouldn't be together, and Elsa would be probably in the forest by herself, not controlling her powers, and Anna would probably be with Kristoff doing whatever, and no problems would have been solved, and they would never have discovered their they would never have discovered the power of love, of sisterly love, and in the end, the quote unquote true hero Hans is put in jail.
Good guy antagonist.
A good guy with bad
Antagonist.
intentions
Yeah.
who saved the whole entire
Okay.
series.
Another perspective with when it comes to the Frozen movies or the Frozen franchise is that the character Elsa is based on the Ice Queen, and in a lot of mythology or lore, the Ice Queen is considered the bad guy, right?
Especially in, I think, Rory, didn't you read, like in last episode you mentioned you read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Wasn't Satan supposed to be the Ice Queen?
You're talking about what's that? Jadis.
Jadis. So yeah, I think it is something like that.
When I was young, I don't know if it was a TV show or a movie, just some stories on TV about the Snow Queen, and they were always about the Snow Queen being the bad guy. But in Frozen, she's the protagonist. She's one of the main characters, and she's not evil. So here's another way of introducing the perspective of the bad guy to us, retelling their story. Now there's another one that's not as famous, but it's still famous. Have you remember we watched the movie Maleficent with a bunch of our
Yes,
friends?
and I loved it. Actually,
Yeah.
I think we watched it twice with Rory
Wow,
because my
really?
brother and I watched it together, and then our
Watched
parents
it with
got
our
angry because we watched it ahead of them, and we watched it as a family.
I watched it twice in a movie
Yeah,
house.
we watched it twice.
Yeah. So with Maleficent, the Maleficent is actually the bad guy in Sleeping Beauty, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
But
It's,
then-
definitely. That's an
In,
old
in
one.
her own movie, it's a retelling of her story, and she's not actually bad. She's just misunderstood. So That's another way media, mainstream media, is making us root for evil a bit, or making us that evil isn't as menacing. So here's another one, a bit relevant to what's happening.
I wish I wasn't afraid all the time, but I am.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
Those caught in violation of curfew will be prosecuted without leniency or exception.
Oh, not tonight.
Okay, so that one's it's in the perspective of a terrorist. V, that character, his plan is like to blow up Parliament. So that's crazy, right? And it makes us root for the guy. I had my days in college where I hung out online at places like 4chan and those sites. Their mascot is the Guy Fawkes mask,
Yes.
or Anonymous. And we even recently had an anonymous attack in PLDT. So that image, that image in people's minds of Guy Fawkes being like a mascot for something like that is still around even until now. So, and it makes us root. If you saw the LDT hacking thing as it was happening, people were cheering.
I think it's just disgruntled clients
Yeah.
of said company,
Yeah, true.
thinking that they finally have justice for themselves. So
Fighting back.
yeah, there's fighting. But like it really hit me what you said, that they use Guy Fawkes or V as a symbol for revolution and rebellion. Because I think if you think about it biblically, Jesus could be the same. Actually, Jesus was the same. He was the symbol to some people for a new change, a call of change in the country of Israel. And many people thought of him as a terrorist that would
Yeah,
bring up this army or something. So
yeah,
some people gathered to him not because of their spiritual
Yeah.
aspect, but because of what they thought he could bring. And they wanted change. They wanted Israel to be restored. And he thought, and they thought rather,
Change is
that
coming.
that his coming would bring this violent revolutionary change. But they were wrong, because Jesus was here for a different change, a more lasting change, something that goes beyond government, and it was spiritual change, spiritual salvation for you, me, the Jews, the Gentiles, for everyone who calls on Jesus' name. And I think it's a missed opportunity. I think 4chan should have used Jesus as icon. As yes, I know it sounds weird and it sounds really weird, but Jesus is a rebel, and he's a spiritual rebel, and he wants to free you from the sin that you are in. So let Jesus in. Let him free you from your spiritual bondage.
I think about it like we're speaking how uh, bad guys are being, portrayed as good, and we can see that Jesus was villainized back then. I
Yes.
mean, he was like leading something that wasn't revolution, nothing violent. He was speaking the truth. He was trying to lead people to salvation, and yet people posed him as a terrorist, someone worthy of being put in prison, to be executed, to be flogged, and he didn't deserve all of that persecution. He actually didn't really deserve any of that. But since they were so afraid of the ideas he was presenting, also afraid of how many people were listening to him, they had villainize him for the point of having him, crucified on the cross. Because that's what, people that did crimes back then, get punished for. But nowadays we see how all these villainous characters, like just like you put in V for Vendetta. The guy was terrorist, but we're rooting for everybody in the movie was rooting. They wanted him to succeed in the end, and it kind of made him into a martyr where his revolution, even in his death, immortalized him. in the minds of people. That I think was pretty good. You know,
It was. I loved the movie.
I was rooting for him throughout the
Actually,
movie.
I
Yeah.
to be honest,
I saw
I
that
think
movie the
the
wrong
only
time
reason I
ago.
watched the movie was because of Natalie Portman. And I'm honest, because like I love her movies, like the darker ones. Have you seen Dark Swan, Kuya? It's something like that.
So
No.
The Black Swan. Sorry,
Black Swan. Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't
the
seen
one.
it.
It's something like that, and it you root for her, and the ending is for me so magnificent, and oh no,
My mother always tells me to smile and put on a happy face.
This movie, I didn't. When I added this to the list to my notes last week, I didn't expect the things that were happening now to actually happen. Like, you know what's going on in the U.S. now, right?
a friend of mine shared it to me. So yeah,
So it's crazy. Like, people are rioting because of
and looting
something. Yeah,
actually,
looting and rioting.
I
And
think.
when we look at the movie, like, I'm sure when I watched the movie, um, I was rooting for the guy until the end where it got so crazy.
yeah,
At the end, it becomes so crazy. He incites riots in Gotham because of something that he does near the end of the movie. So it's crazy. Not saying that I love these kinds of movies because I don't, but
Oh,
it's a coincidence that my top two favorite animes of all time, Death Note and Code Geass, are about or in the perspective of the supposed bad guys. And the number one TV show of all time for me is Breaking Bad. And then V for Vendetta was really not inspirational, but it was really big for me when it first came out. And even for kids shows like Frozen is really big. My son likes the Despicable Me movies, and it's in the perspective of a bad guy, a villain turned good. He
it
even
is.
likes Megamind, another kids movie that is similar to Despicable Me, but it's also about a bad guy. It's crazy that I don't want to support this kind of idea that evil isn't as evil, or even it's not as malicious as the Bible says it is, and making us like it more. But it's a coincidence that a lot of the things that I enjoy watching or consuming is stuff like that. No, and all of these are very popular today. Like a lot more and more movies and TV shows are telling us stories from the perspective of the bad guys. And how about you guys? Like, what do you think of the movies that were like the central characters or villains? Like, how do you feel when you watch these kinds of movies? Do you prefer them in some way? Like, do they interest you a little bit more than the normal ones?
I've seen and I've noticed that when you make like stuff like Mega Mind, stuff like Despicable Me, when you make the bad guy funny, it's more entertaining, right? It's more entertaining for the kids. They get a good laugh about it. The person feels more human. You make him more goofy. You make him more clunky. You make him more of ditz or whatever. And people can relate to that. It's not so bad. This is funny, even though he does bad things, even though he
Exactly.
has evil plans,
He's not so
you
bad.
know, yeah, it's not so bad. It's not that bad. But nowadays, I think that's some way for people to play a different angle because it gets, like I've been saying, it gets stale. The good guy, super pure, super nice, Superman. That type of angle. But a lot of people now want to see something from a different perspective. And when it's a bad guy's perspective, people go, "Oh wow, this doesn't really happen a lot. Uh, it'd be nice to see through this guy's eyes. He must have had a reason that he turned bad. It can't be a hundred
Yeah,
percent because
his reason.
it's a
They want to know
backstory.
his
There's an
reason.
origin. There's a reason why he turned out like this. I might be able to relate to that reason. This guy might be doing it out of necessity. They start not really they start making like these little excuses for the person why he's acting the way he does.
Yeah.
why he gets to shoot X and shoot Y person or kill this person, and it kind of little by little throughout the series kind of justifies what he's doing, the wrong things that he's doing, the
Exactly.
things we should be following that he's doing. I think right now, how I feel about that, I really feel like kids nowadays are really influenced by the small things, right? I mean, movies, cartoons, stuff like that. Anything you feed to your child, I mean, you can't completely 100% blame it, but it'll influence them into an idea of what's wrong and what's right. Unless your parents are very, they limit you to what you watch, or
Hmm.
they're very careful of what you see. Like for example, Christian parents, to all those Christian parents out there, it's very important that we filter what they see. It's not. I'm not saying that you can't watch movies like Despicable or Megamind, as long as the child understands that it's just a movie or it's just a cartoon, or if the child understands that these things aren't the things they should be following. It can be from an entertainment perspective, because I understand how producers and how movie makers want to knock that point out from the villain. You know,
Yeah.
to give it a fresh perspective or make him funny or make him something that will sell for the kids and even for even adults or even people that are older than uh, children nowadays. So I really think it's something we should be careful about.
And I personally agree with what Rory said. It's no matter what is presented to you, it the only thing that matters is how it impacts you. And like, you can't say a knife is evil because it's just a tool. It's how you use that knife that makes it good or evil, like a tool for good or evil. So if you use this knife to cook, then it's quote unquote good. But if you use this knife to stab someone to death, then of course the tool becomes quote unquote evil. And I think that, well, stories, dark stories, are my favorite kind of stories because I think media is actually finally catching up with people. Um, like when we were younger, we don't have this kind of 50 shades of gray in between. It's either white or black. And once you grow up and once you live this world, you know it's never just black or white. They're like more than 50 shades, like a bajillion shades of gray in between. And these stories resonate with people because not there's not this like one person um who's perfectly holy, or there's this one person who's perfectly evil. uh they have their story, and there's a reason for why they do what they do. And when media makes evil, quote unquote evil, not so bad, we must remember to use it in a positive way. So how do Christians use this evil that media has portrayed in a positive way? You can use it as remembering that we all have this bad side, no matter how quote unquote good you are. Everyone, even Christians, have this quote unquote evil side in us that we battle with. So how do we use it? We remember this when dealing with ourselves and with dealing with other people. This person in front of me can be acting this toxic. This person in front of me can be acting violent. This person in front of me can be acting quote unquote evil at this point of time because of certain factors that I can relate to. And it helps us become merciful. It helps us become empathetic to them. Like we feel empathy for them because we know that given the same situation in their shoes, we could have done the same. And there's a story in the Bible that I would like to share. Like, do you guys remember uh, the prodigal son?
Yeah.
So the son, yeah, right. So the son asks his father, "I want my stuff. I want my inheritance." And in the Jewish culture, that's wishing your parents dead, because you can only get your inheritance when your father dies. So the father gives him all the stuff, and he goes to another country. So like we see that he's quote unquote evil, and and you're rooting against him so bad, and then you realize he's a very foolish son, and he spends all his inheritance, all his stuff, and then what happens? He hits rock bottom, and he returns to his father. And what does the father do? The father forgives. So I think we should remember that yes, evil is part of this world, and yes, there is this sort of evil in everyone, but there is also a God who is willing to redeem us from that. And as long as we take that from whatever we see, watch, or read, that evil is there and God is there, and the proper response is to move away from that evil, then I think it doesn't matter what we watch or whatever media says about it, as long as we have our quote unquote Christian glasses on. So that's it for me.
Yeah, I like those. I like the idea of Christian glasses, like the Christian filter. So here's another video that I'd like you to see.
People like to tell me things, those deep, dark, naughty
I
little
know
desires
this.
that are on their mind.
And you're not marrying this human stain because you're actually in love with him, right?
Supposed to be Satan?
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said that.
Must be something about his face.
Hey, boss.
Remember me? Can I have your autograph?
Did I sell my soul to the devil?
So the devil made you do it, did he? The alcohol and the drugs, the topless selfies. The choices are on you, my dear.
Your return to the underworld has been requested.
Let me just check my calendar. Here it is. The 7th of never through to the 15th of ain't gonna happen. How does that work for you guys? Try it. You think Father's upset now?
He will not be merciful for much longer.
What's your name?
Lucifer.
Like the devil.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there. So a show that not only makes us kind of root for the bad guys, but it makes us root for the enemy. So this is kind of weird. I haven't watched that. I've only seen the trailers.
I haven't either. As, like, people might be thinking I have watched it based on my reaction, but I haven't. Okay,
No,
I haven't seen a single episode yet.
Idea of making him the main character and someone who's not really evil, but someone we can root for. And there were parts of the trailer that he was shown that stop caring because you're the devil. It was weird. Yes.
I think it is weird because it's not in his nature, and actually they're portraying him to be something he isn't. Okay. So okay, this is gonna give me a sec. So as we know, the real devil is a fallen angel who is hell bent on bringing us all with him to hell, and they're trying to emboss or to borrow human characteristics to this actor portraying the devil. And I think it's funny in a way because we know this isn't true. So it's if you put it like strictly in head knowledge, it's just for entertainment. And I have a question for you, Josh, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Would this be something Christians should watch or could watch?
I have an opinion about these things, but let's just say that it's something that I don't say we should completely avoid. But I'll talk more into that later.
Okay. How about you, Rory? What do you think?
Actually, I was about to talk about, pull this name of this series out, but I was just waiting for Kuya Josh to show the clip. I said sooner or later he's going to show this one. I'm 100% sure. I might as well keep my mouth shut. Actually, I haven't seen it either. I've seen the trailer. And like I've said before, how they portray the devil in this one, I think it's in a worldly and non-Christian perspective, this is well done. You know what I mean? The way that they, make him act like this, make him like he cares, make him look like he's going to get to the justice wherever was killed, blah blah blah. And a lot of people like that. I mean,
yeah,
it's a hot topic. The devil, Lucifer. Ooh, for a lot of people, that should be something like taboo. It's something that you should like stay away. But when I see all my friends, actually a lot of my friends in college, most of them are Catholic. They love that show. I mean, they recommend it to all their friends. They say it's one of the best series.
they recommend it to all their
I'm serious. I could name a lot of people that love love that show, just love watching it. They start recommending it and saying, it's not bad, it's really funny, it's really sexy, it's really this and that. And then I think back to like one of those cartoons. What was that cartoon I watched before? I think it was Cow and Chicken.
Yes, I was gonna say something about
Yeah.
that.
Cow
Red.
and Chicken.
Him?
The red guy. Yeah, the red guy.
They give him this. They give him this funny attitude. They give him this. He's like the comedic relief in the show, and they make him sound like he's not as bad as he's supposed to be. They don't give him the name the devil. They give him the name the red guy. He does a lot of funny stuff, and kids laugh. And I admit back then, even though I knew that it was bad, like my parents, like I remember when my dad saw it once, and he was so pissed while I was watching something about the devil and how making him funny and everything. And I knew I laughed at him before, but I'm saying, no, I don't find it funny. I find this something I shouldn't be watching. But deep down, I knew it was funny. And I know for that, it started was for kids. I understand, even at that level, at a children's show and a cartoon show, I should have been wary. And even at this level where we're watching what's that, Lucifer, we should still be wary. Media will continue to keep pushing these, it kind of gets spicy when it's religious, right? I mean, there are a lot of ways to make spicy news, but when it's something on a religious nature, I mean, like,
it's easy to make fun of the religious guys.
That's true, and it's something that people love, whatever religion it is. But when it's like a religion that's like followed by a lot of people, like in America, there's lots of Catholics, Protestants, etc. Same here in the Philippines, there's some across Asia. There's, Europe was Catholic and all of that stuff. They have a lot of Catholics over there. When you put in something like this spicy, people will just laugh at it. Instead of, saying, oh, this show, there's something wrong with it. That's not how the devil's supposed to be. That's not how the devil is supposed to act. People, instead of, refusing to watch the show, refusing to, give it a chance, staying away from the show, they see that the trailer really does a good job in making it attractive for people. I mean, if I was a person with like lesser thoughts on how things should be watched or lesser thoughts on what shows should be filtered, I'd probably give it a shot. I mean, a lot of people I know gave it a shot. And that goes to show, even despite their claimed faith in Catholics or claimed faith, even being Protestants, they still continue to watch the show and they still justify the show by saying it's just for entertainment. That's not how we know it's not like how the devil is supposed to be. But for other people, it kind of dumbs down the threat that the devil is, right? He's supposed to be someone that we should be so wary about. He's supposed to be someone that we should fear. He's supposed to be someone that we should try to avoid all the temptations and etc. and all the sin that we should avoid. And yet, media continues to portray him in this way, whether in a kids show, on a cartoon show, whether in Netflix shows. I think that's something that we should watch out for as Christians nowadays.
I'm gonna back up my answer a while ago when I said that it's something that we shouldn't completely avoid. Okay, so although a lot of my favorite TV shows like involve villains or anti-heroes as their main characters, and even if I listen to a lot of different kind of music, like with regard to music, I even before I became a Christian, I was like, my number one genre is rock and roll, rock music, and sometimes I even listen to a lot of metal, but that's not my main genre. Metal isn't the main kind of rock that I listen to, but I listen to a lot of metal too, and sometimes I still do even today. But I'm very fortunate that I'm able to separate myself from the possible influences these could have on me. So far, I think I'm not as influenced with it, no matter what kind of music or what kind of movie it is. I have no interest in being a criminal mastermind, or becoming a serial killer, leading a rebellion, or doing any sexually immoral acts displayed on those types of media. But that being said, not everyone can completely separate themselves from being influenced like that. That's why a lot of people today are so open to sin these days. And while even since long ago, people have been sinning left and right. Like, I think it was there was something in the Bible where people continue to invent or create new ways of sinning. So it's like a trend to bend morality or bending God's rules for all kinds of reasons, for their own selfish reasons. Like even in our local media, like you constantly see shows with themes that involve cheating wives and husbands and sexual immorality, murder, crime, and all of that in some way, shape, or form. They justify that. They don't overtly say it's good, but it makes you. The story is told in a way that makes you root for the bad guy, or makes the act of committing sin not as uh, malicious. So in like in today's modern culture, it's sometimes it's even the right thing to do, or that we're just ordinary people. There's the expression "tao lang tayo," so that's an excuse that a lot of people use when they are caught like sinning, or when because of the fall, it's in our nature to gravitate to sin. But just because it's true doesn't mean that we should just fully accept sin and just do it because it's the right thing, or it's something that we have to do, or it's something good, or it's something that's not so evil after all. Like there's also like the topic of divorce and LGBTQ unions. But it's now okay because we see it everywhere. Celebrities are getting divorced, and celebrities are supporting divorce and extramarital relationships. So celebrities or people in authority are supporting LGBTQ unions. So there's stuff like that. And then there's like what once was considered wrong is now considered good. We're calling it the name of love, and it's crazy. So and then there's the death penalty, where a lot of people support taking someone's life because they're criminals. Yet the problem is just that the justice system is broken. Like some of people in prison are there and they're wrongfully accused. But it's okay because it's what is needed to end crime. We have to do this. It's murder or evil, or this kind of evil is a necessity to end a bigger kind of crime. So I call BS on that actually. And of course there's another thing like abortion. Like it's a good thing here in our country it's not yet so commonplace to kill babies, but in other countries people are defending the idea of abortion. Like they're even saying that it's their right to do that, and because it's their bodies. So they're not even considering that they're actually ending another human's life before it even starts, just because when they do that. So my point is that I do believe that mainstream media in all forms is slowly and subtly convincing us, or influencing us to love or to accept evil, or the act or the idea of some forms of evil, making them seem like they're not really that evil, and then some making us feel like they're a necessity to human race as we evolve. Like it's the next step in our morality, that we should accept things like that. But however, I also believe that we cannot do this. We cannot guard our hearts and constantly live in God's word, and we protect ourselves if we don't know what it is. That's why I said earlier that it's one of the things that we don't have to fully avoid. Like I listen to a lot of like rock and metal music, even the black metal music. I've shown Iking, that some of those videos are really graphic. They're really like they cannot be called positive for Christianity. So, and I don't enjoy that, but it's something that I look at and then I see what they're doing. And remember, I told you that the lyrics or the kind of songs that they do is they're just like using old hymns or prayers and then warping the words, changing the names, changing the terms, and it's just the same thing. And just knowing your enemy, that kind of idea. You have to know what we're up against, but you don't have to enjoy it, and you don't have to live in it. Like we have to know what is around us. So that's why, like, we have to know what we're up against, and when our families, our loved ones, our friends, and like church mates or brothers and sisters in Christ seem like they're slipping, like young people or even our friends that are our age, even we know that they should know better, but we notice that they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. We can relate to them and we can pull them out. If we don't completely understand what they're going through, they will look at us and they won't treat our advice the same way. They will like, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what it means to me to be doing, to be involved in this or something like that. Friends or our brothers and sisters in Christ will listen to us more if we really do know what is happening with them or what they're struggling with. So it makes it seem easier for us to reach out to them when they're slipping. So we listen to music, we watch movies and TV shows, we watch the news or browse the internet, but we always keep ourselves on solid ground. That's why for the past couple of years that we've been reading the Bible every day, just to keep myself connected to God's word. uh, it's not saying it to brag though, but it's something that I haven't actually done in my entire life. I'm just starting to do now. It's just something that I'm doing to help me or to help protect me and to help keep me in the loop of God's like, grace. Keep the more I try to stay in the circle, the easier I guess it's the easier it would be to reject the idea of sinning. So that's what I think. What about you guys think?
So I think you brought up a really good point where I think media is trying to media is trying to wait, give me a sec. I think I think my tongue won't work. Media is trying to desensitize us because that's what it is. Like for them to have an influence on you as a Christian, you have to be desensitized of what is right and what is wrong. And we are in a fallen and broken world, and well, it's messy and muddy and dark and full of grays, so many grays. But we must remember to always fall back and rely on God's word. If media is what the world uses to desensitize us from what is right and wrong, then God's word or the Bible is what we can use to resynthesize us, what to help us realize what is right and what is wrong. So I really loved how you were saying that you've been reading the Bible recently, to keep yourself spiritually grounded. And I think that's how we as Christians can fight this whole uh, is evil getting to be something too comfortable in the minds of people, is if we synthesize ourselves with what is spiritually sound, using and reading the Bible.
I like that point that Kuya Josh brought up about how knowing your enemy, knowing all of these things that are trying to confuse Christians these days. I think that's a really good point. I mean, I remember back then the Da Vinci Code came out. A lot of people were saying, don't show the video to them. It's going to be something that a lot of even priests here in the Philippines are saying that for Catholics to for them not to watch the movie. A lot of pastors saying don't watch the movie. I remember my father took a stand on that and he said you should let them watch the movie because if Christians have a solid faith and go and watch that movie, they'll just look at it like it's something that's fictitious. And the more that you try to restrict a person from watching something, their mind starts to wander and start to say, why is the leader of the church stopping me from watching these particular shows or these things that they don't want me to see. Maybe there's some truth there. Maybe there's something here that I'm not seeing, and there's something that they want to see only for themselves, or etc. Stuff like that. And drawing on that point, like Kuya Josh said, like watching movies, watching these bad people, watching how the media uh, makes them less villainous. It's something that we should. I'm not saying that we should support, but something that we should also watch. Something that we should get like some information on, some understanding on. I remember one kid. I teach kids. I teach Sunday school actually, and I also teach kids in various ministries. And to relate to these kids, you have to go through some of the stuff they went through. Because most of them, like, for example, they'd be shocked for me to say, like, I did what you did before, this crazy thing or this bad thing or whatever. And they said, really, Kuya Rory, you did that before? You did this and you did that? Yeah, I went through the same stuff you kids went through. You have knowledge of, the things that they're going through right now. You have knowledge of the things that they're experiencing right now as kids. Because, as kids before and kids not that they are now, it's practically some of the things that you can relate to with them. And practically are the things that we've done before. And that's a very important in connecting to other Christians that are being influenced by different things. Like, have you seen this show? And if you say yes, I've seen this show, I have an understanding of the show, my idea on the show is this, blah, 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 blah. It's just for entertainment. And they can understand that, they can take it as entertainment. They can still enjoy the show, but they won't take it as something that, this guy did that and that's something I should do. Or this villainous person isn't as bad as he seems to be. And just take it as, an entertainment point. And they can still enjoy the shows that they're watching and still filter out all the negative stuff or the stuff that they shouldn't be influenced by. So I think that's important for people out there that are teaching kids or people that are giving sermons or people that are giving advice in general to young Christians to keep in mind.
We're gonna read a couple of verses here that to this kind of topic. First Peter 5:8. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And Matthew 18:9. And if your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with one eye than to have two eyes and be thrown into the fire of hell. So we really have to have a firm foundation of what we truly believe and what is really good and what is evil, even though we immerse ourselves, or we can't really avoid this kind of influence, no, because it's everywhere in the entire world. Our friends, our family, they are exposed to it, and therefore we are also going to be exposed with it. So we just have to ground ourselves with a firm foundation and to keep ourselves within the circle of God's grace. Now I want to show you something. Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good. So where do you think you guys lie in? Like, this is like
I think I,
funny
I think I
game.
took a test. I think this was really popular a few years ago.
Yeah,
And like I was like in college or high school or whatever,
I think
and
in
like
college, when we were in
yeah,
college.
like it was the nerdy thing to do, and like I was just such a major nerd. So I think I took this test, but I forgot where I landed actually. How about you, Rory?
I've seen this before, and I think lawful neutral. I think that's where I land. I don't know. To be honest, I've seen this so many times. I've seen so many people, picking a lot of stuff. People picking like chaotic evil. People picking chaotic good. Just going to the extremes on both ends. But if I had to say, maybe lawful neutral. That's something I can stick.
So here, so this time they're putting like Bible characters.
Violet, that sucks.
So what do you say about them putting lawful good? I mean, Abraham in lawful good and Jesus in neutral good.
Neutral good. Lawful good. For
Judas
Abraham.
in true neutral. Adam and
Yeah,
Eve in
No,
chaotic neutral.
I think this was not done by a professional. I have this feeling, I have this weird feeling that this was not done by a professional, and like
Or a
the internet is
Christian.
full of it's full of trolls. Actually, so we don't know what their basis is. Why
Neutral
Jesus
evil,
is
Herod.
neutral good, and why
What is this church?